Welcome back. My name is Reggie. I'm the founder of Fit for Freelance, where I build adaptive business leaders through compassionate health coaching. Last night, now it's March 19th, 2024. There's an Oprah special called Shame, Blame, and the Weight Loss Revolution. And it was an extended conversation about the stigma of obesity and the impact of weight loss medications like Ozempic, Zepbound, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all those GLP-1 receptor agonists that I cover on this channel. The big lesson that came out of it, the quote you might want to remember: obesity is a disease, not a character flaw. And Oprah's intention, what she said: I come to this conversation with the hope that we can start releasing the stigma and the shame and the judgment, to stop shaming other people for being overweight or how they choose to lose or not lose weight. And most importantly, to stop shaming ourselves. All right, so in this episode, I want to give you some notes from the show, my reflections as the guilt-free health coach with 11 years in public health, obesity prevention, five things we can do to improve our culture of health, and just some more perspectives, my thoughts on it, and maybe open a conversation a little further. All right, so let's get into this. First, I want to start off by saying compassionate science-based are our core values of Fit for Freelance: kindness, understanding, getting to know what individuals' needs are, and then science-based understanding the fundamentals of making great decisions starts with good, sound, science-based information. So that's why I cover these things on my channel, so people understand what's happening with these new medications, these GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs, in a way that they can relate to it. It's sort of a medical communications, public health understanding standpoint. All right, so an advantage of what I do, in my perspective, I have insights from conversations in weight loss forums, um, always involved in Reddit and what people are actually saying, people who are thinking about using this medication, people who are taking it, those stories, people having challenges with their eating habits and weight, focus groups, and health equity data analysis. We're going to talk a little bit about the social determinants of health. So some other things that you wouldn't commonly hear on YouTube or online. I'm going to get into some details after recapping the story. And then another quick note: I have not had any affiliations with pharmaceutical companies to date, and I'm here solely representing my companies, Wilson Medical Writing, doing business as Fit for Freelance. So that's a little of my experience. To go further and to get started, on Jimmy Kimmel Live and during Oprah's special, Oprah mentioned that she was formerly a member of the Weight Watchers executive board, or whatever consulting board that they have, but then she resigned that position because Weight Watchers, now called WW, now prescribes GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs that she wanted to talk about in this special. So she wanted to be sure there's no conflict of interest, like appearance of self-promotion, by kind of resigning her position on that board and her financial interests. She talks about that in the special. All right, so in December, Oprah confirmed that she uses medication as one of the changes she's made over the past couple of years. She really emphasized that it wasn't the only thing that she did in her December interviews. And then later it came out that she was using, she hasn't specified which one. All right. And I covered that a little bit in my weight loss story. I linked that below. So during the special last night, she recalled how she starved herself for several months on a liquid only diet and then wheeled out a wagon of 67 pounds of fat on her show to display the weight that she lost. And then she went on to say that she started regaining weight the next day after doing that stunt. And she was feeling pretty bad about that. That was something that she featured on her show and in the special last night. What she went on to do: I now use the medication as I feel I need it, as a tool to manage and not yo-yo. And this is what happens commonly when people are trying to lose weight. They are trying to make changes in their health for their diet. And they find out that it's not as easy as it seems. You have food cravings, you go on cycles, your body kicks up your urge to increase how much you're eating. If you're restricting your calories, that makes you feel hungry and you're not prepared for it. You don't know what to do. And so you start eating more than you expected, and then you don't get the results that you want. You feel bad about yourself, and it affects your self-esteem, self-confidence. You feel mentally weak. You wonder if something's wrong with you. And some people are always on that cycle. It's really unfortunate. Click like or leave a comment if that's something you can relate to, because that's something I enjoy helping people get past, is understanding that process and why that happens, so you're less likely to do it. So that's what this special is all about, is these drugs and how they curb some of those problems. All right, so the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like relief, like redemption, like a gift and not something to hide behind and once again be ridiculed for. I'm absolutely done with shaming from other people and particularly myself. And so she's really taking an empowerment standpoint on this and telling people that it's okay if like this is what you and your medical team have decided to do for your health, that you should not be ashamed of that. It's your own process and it's your own journey. Excuse me. All right, so getting into more of what was going on, Dr. Jen Ashton said it's conclusively known that the conditions of overweight and obesity are complex, chronic disease states, not character flaws, so they should be managed accordingly. She is the chief medical correspondent for ABC News and obesity medicine physician. And this is a big thing, something to point out, indicate there is a huge public misunderstanding, miseducation, and sometimes an ignorance, either willful or unintentional, where people don't understand the process of obesity and that there are so many complex chronic disease factors that contribute to it. And it's not just about willpower, discipline, motivation, morality, being a good person, right? These are lots of factors. You notice that when you see some of the stories, you understand like the stories that were on the special. And when you talk to people who are actually trying to change their weight, that you're close to and you have an interest in helping them improve their life however they see fit and what their goals are, when you are doing that, you have a different perspective versus, a common layperson who is simply like, stating your opinion or your own beliefs on the situation. All right, let's get into what some of these drugs do, the GLP-1 effects. So the main things that I like to point out on this slide, gastric emptying. So it keeps foods in your stomach longer, so that can help you feel more full. And then it decreases your appetite here. Now I cover this a ton in other videos, but when you're talking about decreasing your appetite, that's a big thing. When you're talking to people who are trying to change their habits, they describe this concept called food noise, where you are constantly thinking about food. You're thinking about your next meal. Even if you're eating a meal, you're always worried about it. You're like preoccupied. And it kind of reminds me of someone who smokes and they are always counting down to the next time they can have another cigarette. And so, like that kind of urgent thinking of food can really affect your appetite. And maybe not even how you feel in your stomach, but your cravings for food and how you're considering them. And that can affect how much you eat. And that's what contributes to obesity. So, if you have a medication like Ozempic or semaglutide, any of those, Zepbound, Mounjaro, tirzepatide, those kinds of things, they will reduce your mental appetite. So then you can think more clearly about food. So that is a huge impact that people are just learning about. This is a new research that came out probably a couple years ago. It's been researched for a while since, I don't know, when they were using it for diabetes. And now they've recently approved it specifically for weight loss. This is now officially a weight loss drug, these three different GLP-1 receptor agonists. So this is some people don't realize that it is actually prescribed for weight loss. So what Oprah said on the show, I thought all the people who were on diets were just using willpower, but y'all weren't even thinking about the food. And that was a joke that she made, but that's a big point, is that people are judging what they did or what worked for them and comparing it to what they think will work for everyone else. All right. And that's what I want to point out. There's a difference between the people who make a few key changes and get results and the people who have a more chronic condition via genetics, environment, personal hormones, etc. Right. It's not just like if something works for you because you decided to, I don't know, get your life in order, so to speak, or however you might describe your process for you, that exact same thing may not be, in most cases, isn't what someone else needs. And when you say something is like so simple and straightforward and easy, and then they don't have the same results or same impact or same sense of ease when they do that, that can make them feel really bad. So you want to be careful if you are making those kinds of judgments or statements or sharing those opinions and beliefs, because it can be harmful overall. And a lot of people will hear that and be like, oh, I didn't consider that. And this is a new thing. But some people do that and continue doing that on purpose. And that's when we run into problems with helping other people reach their goals. Okay. So if you want to know how to confidently navigate healthy eating without all or nothing crash diets, the full plate sessions is linked below. And that's one way you can avoid going on long water fasts and using supplements you don't understand to lose weight. Let's keep going with what was going on last night. this is a conversation. Now, this is a big moment. I was impressed with Oprah for talking about this because this is all encompassing. It's kind of like a cultural moment. You're talking about personal health for individuals, large groups of people, public health, the medical scene, pop culture. I've made tons of videos on celebrity weight loss stories, and it's always speculation on if they're using Ozempic or how celebrities are losing weight or changing their body. And then it could also have impacts on the healthcare insurance industry, which would have huge financial impacts. Investors are interested in these drugs too, and these pharmaceutical companies. So we're looking at like a massive social moment. And so when it comes into a conversation with Oprah and the platform that she has, this can be a big part. However, I think this is just the beginning of the conversation and one perspective, one element of it. And as we get more experience with these medications, how they influence weight loss on individual level, industry wide, culturally, then we'll understand it better. And so there were some limitations to Oprah's special last night, but understandably, there are so many things that can fit into an hour. I have probably over an hour and a half of content talking about these GLP-1 receptor agonist medications and drugs, how they work, some of the research behind it, and the people who actually study these nutrition concepts, physiology, how your body works, the doctors who have to prescribe it, pharmacists, everyone who's talking about it, they probably put a lot more time into it. So for them to condense part of the experience and the stories into just a 1 hour thing, like you can't expect too much out of that. This is a big, huge thing. If you want to stay up to date, subscribe to my channel because I'm talking about all the updates as they come out. But let's keep going a little further, talking about social determinants of health and things that can impact weight gain that you might not expect. Genetics, environment, and behavior are the big things. So a lot of times family, specifically the genes your physical body has passed down, like cultural beliefs are part of the environment, but genetics, if you have a family member who has a chance of having a higher risk of overweight or obesity or any other chronic disease, then that can be passed down genetically. Just there's not much you can do about that at this point. So that is a factor that people tend to forget when it comes to comparing themselves to others or comparing their progress or what they're doing to other people, or risks that you might want to start to account for if you have a family history of certain diseases. All right. Another thing, environment, not just your physical environment. Is it safe for you to walk, get active, those kinds of things? But those are also in effect too. And then behavior, your individual choices. And what happens culturally is people focus too hard on the behavior and the choices involved with their health change. And that can be extremely limiting in how you approach it and how you're able to connect with others. Now, if it was purely a behavior thing, that might give someone a little more leeway to be judgmental. Like you would assume that someone is unable to make a change because they're a bad person or they don't care enough. However, it's deeper than that when you're talking about environment and genetics and things that people may not be able to control directly or even influence, just based on circumstances and situations. Click like if this is making sense to you. And if you want me to go into more depth on any of these topics, leave a comment below and I'll make another video because I'm covering a lot of topics because this is such an all-encompassing TV special. Okay, so a little bit about the social determinants of health in terms of environment. These are some of the things, the non-medical factors that influence health outcomes, conditions of where we live, play, and work. That would be a quick summary. You can check it out on like a CDC site page or any place, just search it, social determinants of health. And that'll help start to give you a better understanding of the things that are affecting your health and everyone's health around us. So you can understand that we're kind of all in this health survivability situation, environment, and culture together. And then something that's practical that you can watch, it might be fun, more fun than doing research on social determinants of health, is the Blue Zones Lived 100 documentary on Netflix, where they basically, the Blue Zones, they've gone to places where people are more likely to live over 100 years old, and they've studied what things are happening in the environment, what's going on with the culture there when it comes to social conditions, how people are moving, the kinds of food that people are eating, and how that contributes to health outcomes. And so that's a cool one to watch. When you're talking about these social determinants of health, it's not just, the fundamentals. It goes a little bit deeper than you might expect. where you're living, playing, or working. And so I've seen this in some of my work projects at a previous employer, the pediatric obesity referral project that we were working on. And then that highlights that the focus groups we did highlighted that it's not just your doctor's appointments that determine your health outcomes or your own willpower or morality. All right. People need ongoing support. You're going to need ongoing support to understand what's going on with your health and how you can potentially make changes or what can change in the environment in terms of policies, systems, and environments that can shift the choices that are available to you. And then you can adjust your behavior in an improved environment that has better choices. All right. Hope that makes sense. So things like nutrition education, cultural attitudes, food access, and community support are all major factors in if you can even like approach the behaviors that would be pro health for you in terms of maintaining a healthy weight or monitoring your BMI or make sure you're getting enough fruits and vegetables, those kinds of things. All right, nutrition education. I can talk a little bit more about each of these. I can talk about this for days, so let me know if you're getting bored. But nutrition education is a big part. People don't even consider like nutrition. They might have gotten like some home ec class um, one semester in high school, and that's supposed to like get you through your whole lifetime of trying to understand what healthy eating. That's not going to be helpful for you. Um, Going through college, those kinds of things, you might not get the nutrition education that you need to understand what healthy eating, how to, fuel yourself and your body. Cultural attitude. Sometimes communities have different standards for fitness or thinness or fatness, right? Some people believe that, having a certain amount of fat is good and healthy and shows a good sense of health and good access to food. And some people have cultural beliefs that being very thin and showing your ribs is a good social indicator for things too. And these things that you grow up with, even like how you are eating your meals or whether you're eating your meals with family at night or throughout the day, if you had to clean your plate before you get dessert, those kinds of things, those are cultural attitudes that can affect your health outcomes and whether you gain weight, right? So that counts for these social determinants of health as well. Food access is a big thing too. Do you live close enough to fresh fruits and vegetables that you can get what you need into your stomach or on your plate, right? Can you afford it? Is it affordable? Does it fit into your budget? Do you have other constraints financially? Huge things that add up to whether you can get healthy foods in. And the community support. Do you have a system around you that helps you make healthy choices, that helps you identify when you're making a healthy choice, that encourages you to manage your schedule, to have time to go grocery shopping, to know how to cook healthy foods, to, you know, just understand your stress management, work site, work life balance, all these things add up. These are community support things that can affect your eating habits, your physical activity habits. And over time, that's what all contributes to your health outcomes, your weight. And so understanding these social determinants of health is crucial. I've done a lot of work in this. I'm trying to do a bunch of things to improve or decrease our obesity prevalence in our communities because it is a chronic disease that has huge outcomes and it's very expensive and quality of life, people dying prematurely. It's a whole systemic problem that gets understated. So this is something that is so crucial and valuable when someone like Oprah is talking about this topic. And so we need a supportive community so people understand what's going on with their health, how their health supports their life, and that is what helps them lead a healthy, fulfilling life of their dreams. And I talk about this a lot on my channel. This is why I built Fit for Freelance, is helping people understand that your health is inextricable from the rest of your life. All right. So the guilt-free game plan is linked below. It's a compassionate way to use your choices and behaviors to influence your environment. And that's another part that can help you. So when you understand your process better in your environment, you can hopefully make better choices. Right. Something else that Oprah kind of talked about in her special and that's worth talking about here, culture of health and how we talk about things. Celebrity news is a big thing. So what I do for video content here and ideas, I look at trending searches for weight loss. Very often there will be a celebrity that has some kind of health change, and then they'll do an interview of how they did it and what kind of changes they made and how easy it was or how hard it was, or if they're taking any medications, what their process was. And however, when this happens, when people see that a celebrity has changed their weight, there's a lot of questions, especially recently, on like how they did it and if they're using Ozempic. This is a big thing. So if you click any of those celebrity weight loss videos I have, you'll see more. And I want to point out that one time I got kind of hyped about it. We need to stop guessing who's using these weight loss injections because that doesn't really make a difference. I mean, I guess it could be a fun game to play if you don't have a lot of fun going on in your life, but overall, it's not really your business to guess how people are losing weight. It's more about encouraging them on their own health journey. And so, what happens when you say, "Oh, they had a big change; they must be using some weight loss drug," you can be discrediting people who are working hard and who can't afford a weight loss drug or who are choosing not to use the weight loss drug, right? So just be mindful on how we can shift the conversation, which is something I think Oprah's trying to do here. This is something that I'm definitely trying to do is shift the conversation about health habits, obesity, health outcome, chronic disease, so people understand it and it's like in the atmosphere. This is like the culture that we're building. So, 5 things that we can do to improve our culture of health regarding obesity, in my opinion, as a guilt-free health coach, as someone who works closely with these things. I've already covered this first one. Try not to talk about people's bodies because really there's so much more to a person and how they look, how their clothes fit, if they have clothes, like how much fat they have, like all that stuff. When people hear this, especially when you're on these weight loss forums and people are like teenagers, they're like 12 years old trying to lose weight. It really illustrates, or people who start diets by middle school, that has a huge impact beyond just not eating. Even though the eating is very crucial, it's like a psychological thing that could hint at people's sense of self-acceptance, self-esteem, and worthiness. And that can have huge mental health impacts and destroy and completely change quality of life measures for a lifetime. And then people who are, struggling with weight at any point, then that makes it all more difficult too. Like it doesn't have to be something you just started when you're a kid. It could be any point where you're trying to make these changes and you're having a hard time. That can really be hurtful. So try not to talk about people's bodies whenever you get a chance to give them a compliment that's not related to their body. Maybe something about their choice of color or their style preference, right? These are ways that we can improve our culture of health. The second thing I have here, accept that people's medical choices are between them and their healthcare provider. Click like if you can relate to that. That's the big one for me. Like, mind your business. Sometimes this stuff is not about what you think about what other people are doing for themselves or their healthcare team. Let people make their own medical choices with their doctor and what's appropriate for them, especially when it comes to something like obesity. There is some like absurd judgment about hard work and effort that has to go into a process, and it doesn't, you wouldn't do that for any other disease state. Like if someone had, what was it Mitch Hedberg talked about, someone having lupus or alcoholism, right? Like these things are not so straightforward, and it's not for you to judge it if you don't know the ins and outs of that person's medical history or what their day-to-day life is. Just mind your business. So do that and accept people's medical choices are between them and their healthcare provider. All right. And another side of this is also there is some kind of social pressure when it comes to people using Ozempic. Is like there was a shortage of Ozempic, and so people who had diabetes were no longer allowed, like accessing, they didn't have enough of it to access the drugs they needed. And so there was some backlash from people who like don't even know people with diabetes or who aren't close to it. They're just generically mad at people who are using the prescribed drug to them and getting it before someone else who had a drug prescribed to them. And that's not correct, right? That's not something that we need to have. It is not helpful for anyone. That doesn't help people with diabetes get their medication, right? So it's one of those things that just came on, and it's coming back to accepting that people's medical choices are between them and their healthcare provider. All right, don't get stuck. 3, understand that everyone's journey is different. I covered this a little bit earlier when you're talking about people making changes. And it's like, oh yeah, I just did this, this, and this, and it was so easy. I just finally decided to take ownership of what I was doing. And that can work for a lot of people. But that's something that they covered in this special, is that different bodies will respond differently to what's going on, right? And then sometimes there's a tipping point where you can hit a disease state where it doesn't really matter what kind of changes you make, your body will push you back towards that weight gain side or increase your appetite so you feel like you should eat more. So keeping in mind that everyone's journey is different can really help people understand their own journey and then do the things that they need to do. Talk to your healthcare provider, get the support that you need, you know, and financially or coaching or, medicine, anything like that, so they can do what's right for them and protect their own health. Okay, for what I have, let people live the healthy, fulfilling life of their dreams. I usually say lead. I switched the language last second. All right. So just I don't even know how to elaborate on that. When you let people do this, then they can actually do what's right for them and you support them in doing that. And don't have other people try to live to your standard. Maybe it's a little bit of a personal philosophy thing, but if you can connect with me on this, leave a comment below. This is something that will help, just let people do that. And then 5, focus on leading the healthy, fulfilling life of your own dreams. And when you focus more on what you need to do for yourself, what's important to you, and how you can create that step by step and enjoy that, then you have less pressure to extend yourself into other people's lives or get riled up about, whatever cultural issues. Just focus on what's fulfilling to you instead of doing anything else. Like there's no need for the sort of bullying or anger or vitriol surrounding health, fitness, obesity, overweight, those kinds of things, these weight loss medications. Focus on leading a healthy, fulfilling life of your dreams. And that probably should not include tearing other people down for doing what's right for them, for being on their own journey, for leading their own healthy, fulfilling life of their dreams, for their medical choices between them and their doctors and what their bodies look like. Okay, so those are my 5 things that kind of grind me down a little bit, and the 5 things that we can do to improve our culture of health regarding obesity. And they're simple steps. Once you outline them like that, we can do that together. All right. And if you're enjoying this long rant / ramble about Oprah's TV special and some of the opinions I have on, these weight loss injections or self-care, stress management, healthy eating, all that, I'm open to speak on your show or podcast. Or if you just want to have a talk, my social media is below, my contacts here. So I'm easy to get in touch with. You have my phone number. You can just text me. It's all good. All right. And then I have a few videos. I've covered this a lot. So I'll leave some links below. You can watch Skinny Pins for weight loss. Do they work? I just put, we got it wrong. The Weight Watchers CEO on weight loss, Reggie reacts. So when they changed to start using more GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs like Ozempic, when they started prescribing them, they did shift their message to include that obesity is a chronic disease. And that's a big shift. And so now this is going further, and people are starting to look for this and understand that there's a cultural shift happening. I made a video on that. Also covered Oprah's weight loss last year. Health Coach reacts when she was out for the Color Purple premiere and wearing those dresses. People know she was losing weight. And so I got an early snippet and review on how she did it. All right. And then something I just want you to remember, this is the main point of this conversation. This is my special on the special. Been talking for 28 minutes here. I want you to remember that obesity is a disease, not a character flaw. It is a chronic disease, is listed, and it has other impacts. It's not just about, looking pretty or how your clothes fit. It's not just about quality of life. It is actually a medical condition, and it is multifactorial, multifaceted, and you have to take a well-rounded approach to understanding how these diseases work in order to have the best impact. And that comes a lot with compassion, listening, understanding, good science-based information, studying, and teaching people so they understand what they can do to lead a healthy, fulfilling life of their dreams. And it doesn't include making fun of someone for what they're doing with their bodies and the medications that they agree to take with their doctor. All right. So it's not a disease, or it is a disease. It's not a character flaw. And we should always treat ourselves and others with compassion as we lead a healthy, fulfilling life of our dreams. So that's what I'm about. That's today's message. Click like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, keep practicing. Peace.